All right, these are going to be my week 4 NFL power rankings. I usually get these out on Wednesday, but I've been a little bit sick, so my voice might sound a little bit funny, and I'm going to be a little bit late on this video, but it'll still come out. Should be before the first game of the week, so it should still work out. But let's get started. At number 32, we have the Tennessee Titans, 0-3. They lost this week 30-14 versus the Packers. Will Levis had 2 touchdowns to 3 turnovers. He has been very bad this year. He has a lot of turnovers. The running game this week was atrocious, only 33 rushing yards. They had 8 sacks given up by their offensive line. So their offense, basically as a whole, was atrocious in this game. 3 turnovers, no run game, no offensive line, not a good recipe for success. Will Levis has not been good. If they want to turn this season around, they got to fix the run game. They got to fix their offensive line. Will Levis has to, start playing football, which has not been happening to this point. So Tennessee Titans are not in a good stage right now so far this season. There's still plenty of time to turn it around, but so far there's been basically no reason to believe that they are going to be able to turn this season around. 31, we got the New England Patriots. They lost 24-3 versus the New York Jets. Jacoby Brissett had 98 passing yards this week. Atrocious. They gave up 7 sacks combined between Brissett and Drake May. Drake May came in for the last drive or so. He looked like it was his first drive as a rookie. I'm going to say that for sure. I don't think Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter much longer. He's starting in week 4, but I think Drake May will probably take it over by week 5, maybe week 6 at the latest. But Jacoby Brissett has just not been very good, and the Patriots have not been very good since their week 1 surprise win against the Bengals. So I do expect them to make that quarterback change pretty soon. Number 30, Miami Dolphins. They lost 24-3 as well versus the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, without Tua, it hurt their team a lot. I thought Skylar Thompson would be a little bit better. He was very bad in this game. Skylar Thompson's stats here were pretty atrocious. 13-19, 107 yards, was sacked 5 times. Tim Boyle came in the game after Skylar Thompson got hurt. He wasn't much better. He was a little bit better, I would say, than Skylar Thompson was, because he didn't get sacked a bunch. But overall, still, neither one of those quarterbacks were very good here in this game. They did say that if Skylar Thompson doesn't play, even if he is a little bit healthy, Tyler Huntley may take over as a starting quarterback, which I think is the best option out of those 3 guys. Tyler Huntley's probably a little bit better than Skylar Thompson, but still, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league unless one of these quarterbacks magically plays pretty solid. But they're definitely feeling it without Tua right now. 29 is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are 0-3. They lost 47-10 versus the Bills. They were down by 30 points at halftime. Josh Allen had 280 yards and 4 passing touchdowns at halftime. And then they basically coasted the whole second half because they didn't really need to do anything because they were already up by 30 points. Mitchell Trubisky played basically the entire second half of this game because Jacksonville was so bad here in the first half. Trevor Lawrence had 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 4 times. They put in Mac Jones for their fourth quarter. He did not do much better. He was sacked, only 22 yards, lost a fumble. Trevor Lawrence has not been atrocious this year. He has not been very good, though. Mac Jones obviously did not look like he was going to be any better here in this game. So big issue here for Jacksonville is obviously their quarterback and their turnover issues. Their defense has not been horrible up to this point, obviously letting up 47 points this game. Not a very good look. So there's not really much hope as of right now for this Jacksonville Jaguars team to turn it around unless Trevor Lawrence can step up their game on offense. Number 28 here is going to be the Cleveland Browns. They dropped 7 spots after losing 21-15 versus the New York Giants. Sean Watson was not very good. He had 21-37, 196 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a decent stat line, but he was sacked 8 times. Some of that is obviously the offensive line's fault. Some of that is his own fault for not getting the ball out quick enough, having 0 pocket awareness. I don't know what happened to his mobility, but he is not a mobile quarterback anymore, and he still tries to play like he is and try to evade sacks, and that just doesn't work. He is just not a very good quarterback right now. Their defense, still one of the best in the league, only let up 21 points, which it is against the Giants. So 21 points against the Giants kind of a lot, but overall that's still a pretty solid defensive performance. The only reason why the Browns, had their one win is because of their defense. If they want to be a playoff contender, Deshaun Watson is going to have to not suck. I do think Jameis Winston, honestly, will do a better job than Deshaun Watson, but I don't foresee them benching Deshaun Watson unless he plays like complete garbage. He is already playing like garbage, but he has to probably take that to one or two levels worse than where he is right now for them to actually consider benching him for Jameis Winston, which at that point it's probably going to be too late to save their season. Number 27, we're going to have the New York Giants. They didn't get their first win, like I said, against the Cleveland Browns, 21-15. Daniel Jones has actually looked pretty solid in the last couple of weeks. Week 1, he was trash. I was calling them to bench him for Drew Lock. A lot of other people were as well. Week 2, he was all right. In Week 3, he actually was pretty solid here as well. Looking at his stats here, where are they at? Giants. All right, looking at their stats here. Daniel Jones, 24 of 34, 236 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. Really solid game. Devin Singletary, 100 yards and a touchdown. Malik Neighbors, 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a lot of really good pieces for their offense. Their defense had 8 sacks on Deshaun Watson. A really good game here for the New York Giants. But then again, they played the Cleveland Browns, who have not looked like a very good team this year. So, I don't know how good the Giants are going to be this year. I still do not expect them to be very good. But they at least have been competitive against the Commanders and Browns the last couple of weeks, which is a very big step up from where they were in Week 1. Number 26, going to be the Chicago Bears here at 1-2. They drop a couple spots. They had a close game versus the Indianapolis Colts. They lost 21-16. Caleb Williams was pretty solid here. He had 363 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a fumble, but throwing for 360 yards and 2 touchdowns in your third game, no matter what turnovers you had, is still a really good sign. That's almost as much passing yards as he had in his first 2 games combined. So it is good to see that he's kind of developed a little bit and kind of showing at least some flashes in game of what type of quarterback he can be. The only thing is he's going to probably struggle with turnover issues as a rookie. But if he can crack down on those, as long as he's showing promise with a high volume of passes and good yardage and a couple touchdowns here and there, that's basically all that Bears fans can ask for. I don't think Bears fans are going to be upset if this team is not a playoff contender, as long as Caleb Williams shows promise, which he did in this game. So that's a good thing here for Chicago. Number 25 at the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to drop here 5 spots after losing to the Carolina Panthers 36-22. Andy Dalton looked a lot better than Bryce Young in this game, but still, you beat the Ravens and then you go lose to the Panthers. Not a good look. Gardner Minshew wasn't bad. 18-28, 214 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 pick. Then Aiden O'Connell came in when they were down by a lot in the second half. He was really good. 9-12 for 80 yards and a touchdown. So they did say, Antonio Pierce said that he's pretty close to starting Aiden O'Connell over Gardner Minshew. Minshew hasn't even played bad so far this season. He does have 3 total touchdowns to 4 total turnovers, but his completion percentage and his yards per game are both pretty solid. So I don't think they should bench him quite yet. The only reason I think they should bench him is if it gets to week 5 or week 6 and they're sitting here still with only 1 win, or they're getting consistently blown out. And at that point, it makes sense to start the young guy. But as long as Gardner Minshew is keeping them competitive and keeping them in games without being too much of a hindrance on the offensive side of the ball, I don't really see a real reason to bench him. Maybe you do think Aiden O'Connell is better, but I think Gardner Minshew has to specifically lose his job in the game, not just be like, he's been good, but I think O'Connell can be better. So no, I don't think if Gardner Minshew's still playing good that you should bench him unless the team's record isn't very good once you get to about week 6 or so in the season. Number 24 here is going to be the Denver Broncos. They jump up 6 spots after an impressive victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had this game as my lock of the week for Tampa Bay to win. Broncos blew that out of the water basically from the jump. They won 26-7. Their defense had 7 sacks in this game. Bo Nix was really good, 25-36, 216 yards, 50 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, 0 turnovers in this game. Really good performance from him. Cortland Sutton had 70 yards. They played really solid here on both sides of the ball, obviously. They do have some injury concerns going forward. They lost linebacker Baron Browning to IR. They lost linebacker Alex Singleton for the rest of the season to an injury. So that definitely could hurt their defensive side of the ball. But the offensive standpoint looked really solid this week. Definitely gives good hope for the future of this team. Still don't think they're going to be a very good team this year, but week 3 here was very, very promising for the Broncos. 23 had the Carolina Panthers. They're going to jump up 9 spots after their 36-22 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. The only difference between this week and the weeks 1 and 2 is Andy Dalton starting over Bryce Young. Andy Dalton looked amazing. He was 26-37, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. He was amazing, right? So anyone that has any sort of hope for Bryce Young's future, it is likely not going to be with Carolina unless he magically comes out and plays good once Andy Dalton gets benched again for him. But the only reason at this point you're going to bench Andy Dalton is if he starts sucking, or they get to week 6 or so and they're still only, 1-5 or 2-4 or something. At that point, you're like, just throw the young guy in because he's young. But if Andy Dalton's playing good like he did this week, there's no reason to bench him. And right now, this Carolina Panthers team looked really, really good. It is against the Raiders, so take that as you will. But if Andy Dalton actually is going to revive this Panthers team like he did here in week 3, they do have some talent on paper. I mean, Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen are 2 really solid receivers here. Xavier Legette's a solid wide receiver 3 as a rookie. They got a couple good running back pieces there. Their offensive line looked better in this game than it did in week 1 and 2, so that's obviously really good. Their defense probably still has some issues, but as long as Andy Dalton can revive this offense with the pieces they do have, there's no reason why this Panthers team can't be at least entertaining and a half-decent team this season. Number 22 is going to be the Indianapolis Colts, sitting here at 1-2. They got the first win this week against the Chicago Bears, 21-16, but it was a very ugly win. Anthony Richardson was still very bad, 10 of 20 for 167 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I don't know how they won this game with that horrendous quarterback stat line. He got kind of lucky here. Jonathan Taylor carried the offense basically with 110 total yards and 2 touchdowns. He actually had 110 rushing yards, then another 25-yard reception. So he had 135 yards himself and 2 total touchdowns. So, yeah, definitely the focal point of their offense here this week was Jonathan Taylor in the run game. Not a bad thing, but overall, you do need more out of Anthony Richardson. Week 1, Anthony Richardson looked pretty good. He had a couple deep bombs that looked really solid. But besides that, so far this season, besides just a couple of deep balls that he's had, he has not looked like a good quarterback at all. So he has to, kind of develop his game to be more of a all-around type of thrower, not just somebody that can throw a deep ball but miss underneath short routes. Like he has to be able to hit on all 3 levels of his routes with his receivers, or they're not going to go anywhere this season. Number 21, the Cincinnati Bengals, sitting here at 0-3, going to drop an 8 spot. This was not a bad game here this week for Cincinnati. They lost 38-33 versus the Washington Commanders. 33 points on offense, very, very good showing. 38 points allowed to a rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Not a very good look. I don't care how well Jaden Daniels looked in this game. I don't care how good he is. You should not allow 38 points to a rookie in their 3rd career game. That is not a good sign for your defense going forward. Joe Burrow was amazing. 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. Zach Moss had nearly 100 yards and a touchdown himself. Jamar Chase, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's plenty of good pieces here for their offense. But again, the main issue was their defense, allowing 38 points to a rookie quarterback in his 3rd game. Not a good look. If the Bengals want to save their season, they're going to have to get their defense and offense on the same page. And, not allow somebody to put up 38 points as a rookie. They play the Panthers this week with Andy Dalton. If they lose to Andy Dalton and the Panthers and drop to 0-4, then they're probably not making the playoffs this year. That's very disappointing because this team is very good on paper. They still performed pretty solid in the majority of their games this season. They just have to get on the same page offensively and defensively. They also did lose offensive tackle Trent Brown for the rest of the season due to an injury. That's not helping anybody. So big issues here. Very, very big week here for Cincinnati. Number 20 is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. They are 1-2 right now. They lost this week to the Kansas City Chiefs. It was a pretty close game. You can't be too upset here. They lost 22-17 versus the Chiefs. 5-point loss to one of the best teams in football. They did have a very controversial no-call pass interference in the end zone. So obviously Falcons fans are going to be pretty disappointed about that. But they also had another chance at the end of the game in the red zone inside like the 15-yard line at 3rd and 1. I believe it was 3rd and 1. And they missed it on 3rd down, missed it on 4th down as well. So you can't really put all the stake into that one play because, they still had 2 chances to get 1 yard later in that game and failed both of those times. So it's not like it was going to be a give me on, 1st and goal from the 1. They're just going to punch it into the end zone. But definitely can be very disappointed there. But overall, still a really solid week here for the Falcons. Kirk Cousins was good, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, bit of a pick, but he still was pretty solid. Drake London, 70 yards and a touchdown. Bijan, 50 yards and a touchdown. So some very good pieces here from their offense as well, even though they only put up 17 points. Defense held Kansas City to only 22 points. Pretty solid there. I still think they're going to be, a playoff contender, certainly in their division. There's not really too much issues I have with this team right now. Number 19 is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to drop 4 spots here after losing to the Lions. Okay, gotta find them again. After losing to the Lions, 20-13. Their rushing game was pretty bad, only 77 yards on offense, and they allowed 187 rushing yards. Their rush defense has got to be better if they want to be able to win more games. You cannot allow a team to just run all over you like that and expect to win. Kyler Murray in this game, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, one interception, another 45 rushing yards. He was decent, but not great. They also have some injury concerns to worry about. Trey McBride is doubtful for Week 4. Buda Baker is questionable for Week 4. Those are some key pieces that are going to be very bad if they miss those guys for even 1 week. Because if this team falls to 1-3, it's going to be very, very difficult in their division to be able to bounce back from that. But they still played pretty solid and been very competitive in their games this season. Number 18, you got the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to drop 8 spots this week after falling to 1-2, losing 28-25 versus the Ravens. So dropping 8 spots after a 3-point loss to a good team in the Baltimore Ravens might not make a lot of sense, but they were down like 22 points, I think, something like that, in this 4th quarter, and then just had a very good late rally to make it close. But for the majority of this game, it was a blowout for the Ravens. So I'm kind of putting quite a bit of stake into that, even though they did make it a close game at the end. But still, sitting here at 1-2, they got an absolute gauntlet of a schedule to start out the season. And still for the next few weeks, it's not a very easy schedule here for the Dallas Cowboys. But for this game specifically, Dak Prescott really good. 28-51. Not a good completion percentage, but 380 yards and 3 total touchdowns, really solid. Jake Ferguson, 100 yards almost. Kamate Turpin, 50 yards and a touchdown. Some very good pieces there for the offensive side of the ball. Defense could have done a lot better. They're also losing defensive guys like Jordan Phillips to the IR. Kalen Carson, a corner, is going to be doubtful for this week. They do play the Giants, so they should be able to win this week and get back on track with the 2-2 record, but certainly some concerns there on the defensive side of the ball. Number 17, the Los Angeles Chargers are dropping 12 spots after suffering their first loss of the season. So it could be a pretty steep drop-off there, considering they lost to the Steelers, who are currently undefeated. But a 20-10 loss versus the Steelers in a game where Justin Herbert was pretty bad, only 125 yards and 1 touchdown, sacked twice. He's also been injured. He was injured coming into the week. He played in the game, re-aggravated an ankle injury when they put Taylor Heineke in, who did not do much. He didn't really have a whole lot of opportunity. They ran the ball quite a bit here in this game, but still overall, their offense not good at all in this game. Justin Herbert Need him to be healthy. He's questionable here for week 4 against Kansas City, so if he plays, maybe they have a shot, but the way he looked in week 3, he did not look healthy when he was playing, and considering that he re-aggravated that injury, I think even if he does play in week 4, he's going to be certainly visibly hindered by that injury. They also lost Derwin James for one game here in week 4, so it's going to be a tough task to be able to beat Kansas City here without Derwin James and potentially without Justin Herbert. So they do have a bye in week 5, so as long as Justin Herbert comes out of that bye week looking really healthy in week 6, this team is probably going to come back to roughly a top 10 team. But since he's kind of injured right now, and they did not look very good this week with him not in the game, I'm going to drop him here quite a bit. Number 16 is going to be the Washington Commanders. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Number 16 is the Washington Commanders. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals 38-33. Very, very good game by rookie Jayden Daniels in his 3rd career game. 21 of 23, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 40 rushing yards, and another rushing touchdown on top of that. An incredible game here from rookie Jayden Daniels. Their offense was impeccable. 0 turnovers, 0 punts. Both teams in this game had 0 turnovers and 0 punts, which is the first time since like 1940 that has happened. So very, very good luck here from their offense in this game. Their defense obviously struggled, allowing 33 points. But overall, you can't really be too upset about the outcome of this game, even though their defense was pretty bad. Terry McLaurin had 100 yards and a touchdown on offense. Austin Eckler had 60 yards and a touchdown as well. They did say Austin Eckler is now questionable to doubtful here for week 4. So if he is missing in week 4, they're going to have to rely a lot more on Brian Robinson. I'm not sure who their RB3 is. That would kind of take up the secondary role there. But I still think Brian Robinson's good enough to take most of that load away from Austin Eckler anyways. So their offense shouldn't hinder too much from the absence of Austin Eckler if it only is for 1 or 2 games. So I'm not too worried about that. But overall, this team has looked pretty solid. They're 2-1. The rookie quarterback has looked really good. They're currently better than the Cowboys and Giants in their own division. So that's pretty good look right now for the Commanders. Number 15. Going to be the San Francisco 49ers. They dropped 7 spots here. They lost 27-24 versus the Los Angeles Rams to fall to 1-2 on the season right now. Not a great look for the Niners. The Rams were coming into this banged up so bad. The Niners were injured too. Debo and Kittle were injured, but the Rams were missing Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and like 3 offensive linemen as well. So Rams definitely had the worst deal with injuries, and they still kind of came out on top here. So for the Niners, not a great look there. Brock Purdy was solid, 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 turnover. Jordan Mason, 88 yards. So some good pieces there for the offense. Jawan Jennings stepped up here as wide receiver 1 without Debo and Kittle. He had 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. So they're not even feeling their injuries that much because Jawan Jennings kind of carried their offense, and their offense has still looked solid. Their defense, though, has not looked like an elite defense so far this season, and it's not going to be going any better right now because they just lost defensive tackle Javon Hargrave for the rest of the season. So that's going to hurt their defense even more. Also, Debo and Kittle are, both doubtful here for week 4, so that's definitely not a good sign. Even though their offense has looked solid so far without them, you would still definitely like them back. Number 14, going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They dropped 8 spots here after suffering their first loss of the season here to the Denver Broncos, 26-7. Not a good game here from either offense or defense. Baker Mayfield only 163 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He was also sacked 7 times. Not a good look there from their offensive line. Bucky Irving was good with 84 yards. Chris Godwin had 50 yards and a touchdown. So a couple good pieces there, but overall their offensive line was bad. Baker Mayfield was not good. Their defense, not very good as well. They also, Antoine Winfield is now injured. He's questionable. Most likely not playing in week 4. Maybe week 5 he'll be back. But he's a pretty key piece of that defense. So missing him for any amount of time is going to hurt them quite a bit. But overall, still look pretty solid. Still look like one of the better teams in the division. So I'm not too worried about this team. I would expect them to bounce back here on the next couple of weeks. Number 13, you got the Houston Texans dropping 9 spots here in this game. Not a very good look. They played the Vikings, who have looked like one of the best teams in football so far, but they got absolutely destroyed, 34-7. They allowed 4 sacks. C.J. Stroud, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not a great look there. Davis Mills came in the game in the fourth quarter because they were down by so much. He, was decent, I guess. 80 yards and 7 for 12 for 80 yards. He was also sacked once, so he didn't really do a whole lot. Stephon Diggs was good with 90 yards this game. Nico Collins had nearly 90 yards as well. But overall, again, they got demolished on both sides of the ball. Not a very good look. They were without Joe Mixon in this game, which made a very big impact for their overall offense. But he's also supposed to be doubtful here for Week 4, so likely not playing there. It's going to be a very big issue because he was carrying this offense the first couple of weeks. So if he's going to be out in Week 4, they could very easily struggle like they did here in Week 3. Their defense as well, allowing Sam Darnold to line them up for 34 points. Not a very good look, right? They have to get things more under control. Hopefully Joe Mixon's healthy. That's going to make a big difference. But you have to be able to do something in the running game without Joe Mixon there. You can't rely on him to do everything for this offense. And their defense has got to step it up a little bit too. Number 12 here is going to be the New Orleans Saints. They dropped 9 spots after taking their first loss of the week. It was only a 15-12 loss, so a 3-point loss versus a good Eagles team. So again, you could think this is kind of a little bit harsh, but considering they were averaging 45 points a game in their first 2 games and then dropped it all the way down to 12, I think it's worthy of falling down quite a bit of spots here. They didn't play bad in this game by any means. Obviously their offense was pretty bad. Defensively, they were good. They had 4 sacks defensively. Derek Carr had 142 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Not great there, but their running game was really good. Alvin Kamara had 127 total yards. Chris Olave, 80 yards and a touchdown. So pretty good pieces there on the offensive side of the ball. Just not a whole lot of points out of it. They also lost their center, Eric McCoy, for 6 to 8 weeks with injury. That's going to hurt them quite a bit. Demario Davis is questionable. If he does not play for any amount of time, it's going to be very, very difficult for them on the defensive side of the ball. Their defense has looked really good all year, but Demario Davis has been a very, very big part of that. So they really need him to be there defensively. Number 11 here is going to be the Los Angeles Rams. They jump up 15 spots here. They were 0-2. They had a very good win, battling all their injuries. They had a very, very good win here against the 49ers, 27-24. So they're going to jump up quite a bit of spots. I think last week they dropped about 15 spots, and now this week they're going to jump right back up to where they were. It was a good game, 27-24. Matthew Stafford, 220 yards and a touchdown, no turnovers. Kyren Williams, 116 total yards and 3 total touchdowns. Tutu Atwell, 93 yards. So offense was really good. On defense was solid. Their offense, they stepped it up. Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson stepped up in place of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. So right now, I'm not really worried about their injuries, considering this week it did not affect them at all against a pretty good San Francisco 49ers team. So they continue to have guys like Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell step up in the receiving game. They're not even going to be missing Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua all that much. Of course, they're going to miss them a little bit, but their impact is not being felt as much by missing them right now because of other guys that are stepping up for them, which is a very, very good look here for the Los Angeles Rams team. Number 10 is going to be the New York Jets. They jump up 8 spots here after a 24-3 victory over the New England Patriots. Again, it is against the Patriots, so you can't put too much stake into that because they're kind of bad. But they outgained them 400 to 139 yards. They almost had 3 times as many yards as the Patriots. So that is just screams domination. Aaron Rodgers, 280 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Braylon Allen had 70 yards. Tyler Conklin had 90 yards. Allen Lazard had 50 yards and a touchdown. So offense was phenomenal. The defense was phenomenal as well. But they do have a couple of injuries that they got to worry about. Morgan Moses, offensive tackle, is going to be out for a couple of weeks. So that might hurt their offensive line a little bit. But overall, ever since week 1 against the Niners where they played really bad, They've looked really good here the last couple of weeks. Number 9 here is going to be the Detroit Lions. Jumped up 3 spots after a 20-13 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Their running game was amazing, 187 total rushing yards. Jared Goff was really efficient, 18 of 23 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, which is not very good, but overall, he still played really good. David Montgomery had 122 yards and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs had 83 total yards as well. The running backs are dominating. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 75 yards and a touchdown, so he was pretty good here as well. They did have a couple of injuries on the defensive side of the ball that you might be worried about. Linebacker Derek Barnes hit the IR. Defensive end Marcus Davenport is now injured for this season, so that definitely could hurt their defensive side of the ball. But their offense looked really, really good in this game. Defense looked really good in this game as well. So I do expect those both to still be pretty solid, even if their defense is dealing with some injuries. Number 8 here is going to be the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers looked really, really good in this game. Won 30-14 versus the Tennessee Titans. Malik Willis has been amazing ever since he took over this game. He had 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 70 rushing yards, and another touchdown there. Their running game was amazing. 188 total rushing yards in this game. Absolutely amazing. Josh Jacobs didn't even play in this game. Backup running back Emmanuel Wilson had 85 yards and a touchdown himself. So, they don't even need their top players, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, to ball out for them when they got backups like Malik Willis and Emmanuel Wilson who can take up the load. So, they also said Jordan Love is questionable this week. He actually got in limited practice sessions. So there is a good chance he does play here in week 4, which will obviously be very, very beneficial to this team. Even though Malik Willis has played solid, I do think Jordan Love is still going to come back and be a little bit better. But their defense in this game was also amazing. They had 8 sacks on defense. 8 sacks. I believe they had 3 takeaways as well. Defense has been impeccable. Offense has been really good as well. They definitely look like a top 10 team right now. Number 7 here is going to be the Baltimore Ravens after a 28-25 win over the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to jump up here to number 7. They were up by a lot more earlier in the game, and they kind of let the Cowboys battle back into it, but it's still a good game for them overall. An amazing, amazing rushing game. 274 rushing yards in this game. Absolutely amazing. Lamar Jackson, 182 2 passing yards and a touchdown, 85 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown as well. Derrick Henry had over 150 total yards with 2 total touchdowns himself. So Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry combination was absolutely killer in this game. That's a very, very killer combination for basically any game, but specifically in this game, they were dominant. Defense is pretty good up until the end, would let the Cowboys get back into it, but still a very good game from the Ravens. Number 6 is the Philadelphia Eagles, jumping up 5 spots after beating the Saints 15-12. The Saints, who were averaging almost 45 points a game, the Eagles held them to only 12. That is a very, very good look for their defense. Their offense was pretty good, even though they did only put up 15 points. Jalen Hurts had over 300 yards, no touchdowns, did throw a pick, and was sacked 4 times. So not great there, but the yardage is certainly there. Saquon Barkley, nearly 150 total yards with 2 touchdowns himself. Dallas Goedert had 170 yards himself as well. So A.J. Brown did not play in this game, which definitely could be a reason why their offense wasn't putting up a bunch of points. But they still had guys that played absolutely incredible without A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is questionable for week 4. If he does play, obviously that'll help him. But even without him, I still think they're a really, really good team. Number 5, Pittsburgh Steelers. They are 3-0, so it makes sense for them to be here in the top 5. They're one of the very few 3-0 teams. This week they won 20-10 versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert is a little bit beat up, so it made their job a little bit easier in that respect. But overall, I mean, they still look pretty solid, even with them being a little bit, getting a little bit of help with Justin Herbert's injury. They had 5 sacks on the day from their defense. Justin Fields had 250 yards, 1 touchdown, did have a pick, but still played really solid. Najee Harris, 80 yards. Calvin Austin, 90 yards and a touchdown. Really, really good looks here from their offense, and their defense only let up 10 points and had 5 sacks. Beautiful game from both sides of the ball here. Number 4 is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. Again, they're undefeated. They played Bo Nix in his first game. They played who they played after that, the Patriots, and then they played This week they played the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson / Tim Boyle as quarterback, so not the very hardest path to a 3-0 record to start the season, but you still got to give credit where it's due. They looked really, really good in every single game. Their defense had 6 sacks in a 24-3 win over the Dolphins. They outgained them 370 to 205 yards. Geno Smith, 290 yards, 1 touchdown. Did have 2 picks, but having 2 picks and still winning 24-3, it's a pretty good look for your team. Zach Charbonnet, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 100 yards and a touchdown. So incredible game here from both sides of the ball for Seattle, and there's no reason to think that they cannot keep this up against some actual really good competition. Number 3 will be the Minnesota Vikings at 3-0. They jump up 4 spots here. They demolished the Texans 34-7. They had 5 sacks in their defense. Sam Darnold was amazing, had 4 touchdowns himself. Aaron Jones, 150 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 80 yards and a touchdown. This offense has looked really, really good through 3 weeks. Their defense has looked even better through 3 weeks. They probably have the best defense in the league right now, and one of the best offenses in the league right now. They have the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now in Sam Darnold. Him and Josh Allen have probably been the 2 best quarterbacks in the league so far this season, which is something I thought I would never say a month ago. But props to the team, props to DeMeco Ryans, and I think it's DeMeco Ryan. No, not DeMeco Ryan, just who's their Brian Flores? Brian Flores? I'm blanking. Brian Flores is their DC or whatever. He's looked really, really good with this Minnesota Vikings team. Number 2, going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm dropping them 1 spot. They had a good game against the Falcons. They won 22-17. Did not look all that impressive. Mahomes did not look all that impressive. He had 217 yards, 2 touchdowns to 1 pick. Carson Steele was solid with 70 yards as the RB1 this week. Rashee Rice, great as always, 12 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. But again, this was not a dominant performance. The Chiefs have not had a dominant performance all season yet. Patrick Mahomes has not got a game without at least 1 turnover. Not a great look from their offense. Still 3-0 against good competition is certainly nothing to laugh about. The Ravens, Bengals, and Falcons are teams that you think are going to be good coming into the season, currently have a combined 2-6 record. So you kind of got to take that into account a little bit. Their overall strength of schedule right now is among the bottom in the league, even though you think they're good teams. But still, I still think those teams are all pretty good, so I'm going to have a little bit of stake into their wins, but they have not looked dominant. They have not played a team with a winning record as of right now. And yeah, number 1 team has looked a lot better than them so far. The Buffalo Bills, unsurprisingly, number 1. They won 47-10 against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. They were up by like 30 at halftime. Josh Allen did nothing in the second half because he didn't have to. Mitchell Trubisky played basically the entire 4th quarter. They had 5 sacks on defense. Josh Allen, 260 yards, 4 touchdowns, 44 rushing yards, and 95% of that was in the first half. James Cook, 87 yards and a touchdown. Khalil Shakir, 70 yards and a touchdown. This team was absolutely amazing on both sides of the ball this week. They've been the best team in football, I think, by far through the first 3 weeks of the season. Josh Allen, probably the current favorite for MVP, followed by probably Sam Darnold. But they do have a couple injuries to be concerned about. Teron Johnson and Terrell Bernard and offensive tackle Tylen Grable are all going to be injured for week 4, so that might hurt them there quite a bit. But overall, I still think they have all the pieces to still be the best team in football, even if they're down a couple of pieces on both sides of the ball. That's going to be it for that. Let's get into my game picks. Last week I was 8-8, not a great week. 28-20 overall, still solid, but definitely not as good as I thought I would be at this point in the season. But I'll take a winning record, I guess. So for the game by game, Cowboys over Giants should be pretty easy. Vikings Packers, I got a couple of these things that I'm very, very split on, and I'll get into that. Later. But Vikings Packers, this is basically going to come down to if Jordan Love plays. If Jordan Love plays, I'm taking the Packers to upset here. If Jordan Love does not play, Vikings are winning. Jets Broncos, I'm going to double down. Last week I had the Broncos losing as my bet of the week, and they won. This week I'm going to do it again with the Jets over Broncos as my lock of the week. I hope they don't let me down. Colts Steelers, I think will be very close. I'm taking the Colts by slim hair. Bengals Panthers, I just don't think Andy Dalton's going to do that to his former team of the Bengals. I think it could be close still, but I'm taking the Bengals. Rams, Bears is my upset of the week. The Rams played really, really good last week with all their injuries. I don't know why they're still the underdog here against the Bears, but they are. So I'm taking advantage of that. Saints, Falcons, Demario Davis is questionable. If Demario Davis plays, the Saints are winning that game. If he does not play, the Falcons are winning. That's kind of a cop-out, you might think, because that's kind of not even like a very key guy to the. I mean, he's not like a quarterback or a wide receiver one or something that's going to make a notable difference in the game, or at least as notable of a difference. But I think that's a very important factor here in this game. Texans over Jags. The Jags are just bad. Eagles over Bucks. That can be a fun game. Niners Patriots should win by 30 at least. Cardinals Commanders could be a very good, very high scoring game. I'm taking the Cardinals. Chiefs Chargers should be easy, especially if Justin Herbert plays, or if he does play and it's not, it is visibly not 100%. The Browns Raiders. Max Crosby is currently questionable, so I think if he plays, the Raiders will win. If he does not play, the Browns are going to win that game. Again, that's kind of something that you can think of as a cop-out, but he is a very, very key piece of their defense, obviously, and he's going to make a very big factor whether he plays or not. Bills-Ravens should be a very, very fun game. Could be a high-scoring game, could be a low-scoring game, could be a blowout. Either way, honestly, I think this game is going to be the game to watch. I'm taking the Bills. Titans-Dolphins. Dolphins are not good without Tua. Titans should get a good win there. Could be a very ugly game to watch, but I'm taking the Titans. Lions-Seahawks. I'm taking the Lions to get the Seahawks their first loss of the season. But yeah, that is going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back next week for an updated power rankings list, and goodbye.